Well, here we go. Sit down, hold on, buckle up, because we got a lot of questions to go through. So get prepared. It's going to be a wild ride. So when I first put the video out there, I was sitting at home and my wife, Lacey, says, I don't know what it had, 100 views or something, and she goes, well, you don't have a lot of questions. So what are you going to do if you don't get any questions? I says, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden they started rolling in, and a day later she's going, you got a lot of questions. What are you going to do? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to try to get them all in there. So here we go. We'll start off with the first one, and we'll work our way back. So if you were one of the first comments, I'll probably hit you guys first. How cold will it be before you can't chip no more? I know up here in Canada, I run a shaving machine, block the blades when it gets too cold. It's cold out besides getting running every morning. We will chip all year long. We don't stop for rain, snow, sleet, hail, tornadoes, earthquakes. The first day I started working here, it was 9 years ago, I believe, in December. We got a foot of snow that night. I remember coming to work, I was like, what in the world? There's snow everywhere. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We got a foot of snow the first day I started working here. We don't stop chipping unless the mill won't take the wood. Do you run your tripper from the loader joysticks too? Okay, the joysticks that I'm running right now with both my hands control the loader. Anything I move side to side, up or down, those are my loader controls. The buttons on them are, I can reverse my feed wheels, I can reverse my conveyor, I can lift my yokes up and down. Whenever you see my fingers moving on these joysticks, I'm usually lifting a yoke up or down. Everything else is controlled up top. It'd be above your camera, above my camera is all the controls for my motors and for a bunch of other stuff. I've made one video about that a long time ago. I'll update that here shortly so you can kind of see what's going on. How many times do you change the knives in a week? Depends on the wood. I have changed my knives once in a week. I've changed my knives 4 times in one day. So it all depends on the wood, the area you're in. Sometimes you get in some areas where people just put stuff into trees for some reason. Deer hunters do it every now and then. Some people, I've seen screwdrivers, you name it, pipes sticking out of trees. So sometimes it's just, they'll last a couple days, sometimes they'll last one load. On average, I probably put a set in every day, usually on average. Friday question, explain the loader controls. Around here, log loaders function like a backhoe with foot pedals for the swing. Videos by Al. He's got some good videos. Go check out his videos if you like wood misers. I'll tell you what, I can watch him saw logs about all day long. I love watching that thing saw logs. Beautiful stuff. I'll explain that in a different video, Al, of the benefits of this compared to a foot swing. It'll just be easier that way. So you just hold on. I'll make another video because there's some big benefits to having no foot swing in your pedals down here. What is the fuel consumption per ton of the chipper? I think we just talked about this the other day at the Morbark show. I think it's half a gallon per ton is what I believe is what it's consuming. So 40 tons would be about 20 gallons. If I remember correctly, that's what it is. If I'm way off on that, I apologize. I should have asked Mike before I started the video because we had talked, Morbark was wanting to know when we did the demo days. So, have you ever cracked the wheel that your knives bolt to? No. Never cracked the wheel. That disc weighs about 7,000 to 8,000, maybe 10,000 pounds. Just the chipper disc does. If that, you got serious problems. I do have a great story about one blew apart. The wheel didn't blow apart, but the wear plate blew apart and paddles flew off from Mike's chipper a long time ago. I do got a good story about that. I'll tell that one of these days. No, I have not. You ought to give shout outs on questions. Tina Fitzwater. There you go, Tina. She wants me to give shout outs. Do you ever dull a set of knives faster during the summer than winter, or does it just depend on the type of wood you're chipping? The winter, wood freezes up hard. And the one thing about the winter is when the wood freezes up hard, so does your bark. Bark comes off a lot harder in the winter. We go through more chain, and I would say yes, we go through more knives in the winter. The other problem is it's harder to get the knives in there tight with your pneumatic guns because of the cold weather. So yeah, I would say we probably do go through a few more knives in the winter. We go through more chain in the winter. We go through more fuel in the winter. That's how it goes. I've asked this question before and you sort of answered it. This is from Keith. What are the different species of wood that you find in your area? What do each species of wood get used for? Chips, firewood, logs, for the mill. Love your videos, John. I'm living vicariously through you. So here we go. This right here is all maple. What I'm putting a chipper right now is all maple. That white one's birch. Everything else is maple in that bundle. The bundle he's bringing up now looks like all maple. This job's mostly all hardwood. We got some maple, we got some birch, we got some ash. He's cutting an ash log right now. So that's kind of how we do it. These all get used to make cardboard. Whenever these chips are going through this flail, none of them are for burn plant wood. None of them for energy wood. These all go either to a paper mill or a board mill in Alpena. Hopefully that answers the question. Hilljack, do you ever turn the used chains in for scrap? If so, how much do you get out of them? P.S. Can you give my channel a shout out? Hilljack. Just the way it sounds. Yeah, we scrap all our scrap chains. We whatever scrap's going for, that's what we get out of them. We don't get no special treatment. Being that our shop goes through a bunch of steel too, junk nuts and bolts, just other crap that we got around the shop, junk pieces of steel, they all go in the same bin. And whatever scrap's going for a ton, that's what we get out of it. So you kind of pay attention to a little bit of scrap prices before you haul it in there, because obviously sometimes scrap's worth more than other times. Sometimes it ain't worth hauling in there, so you don't call them. That's what our junk chains get used for. I had one guy comment that he'd come pick some up. I can't figure out where that comment, what video that showed up in. Get a hold of me again. I'll see if I can figure something out. I'll talk to the boss and see if we can figure out some sort of plan. Super 6954, hi, I got 2 questions for Friday. If you could please help me with any of them. We keep seeing videos of you talking about and changing your chains and knives with the chipper. Roughly, what does that cost for the parts for a complete change or for an average year? 2, why do you call them grapple buckets in your videos? Is it just a local thing? To me, a bucket is on a backhoe, a loader type machine for digging and moving dirt, and those type of materials. Thanks, you great video. See you next time. I just chip. Mike, if I need parts, I call the shop guy Rob or Mike, depending on what part I need. And then it gets bought and brought out to me. I don't ever see numbers on what stuff costs. If you would want to know an average of what stuff would cost, your best idea would be get a hold of Morbark. They know exactly what average stuff costs per year of running. But I'm not sure on how much. I know we go through barrels and barrels and barrels of chain a year, but I'm not sure on what it all costs. I'm not involved in that type of the business, so they keep me out here in the woods and tell me to chip wood, so that's what I try to do. Sorry I can't answer that question as well as you'd like. How long ago did you start running chipper from McLean Farm? I started running chipper, man, 4 or 5 years ago. I run skidder for a few years, for 3 or 4 years, and then the chipper guy, that other chipper guy that was chipping before me, he didn't stick around, so Mike needed a chipper guy, and we got talking one day on the phone, and he said, "Are you going to run that thing or not?" And I said, "Only if Zeke shows me," a guy that was working here, and I said, "If he'll show me, I'll run it." And I think it was the first job I was chipping on. My boom busted in half, literally broke off in half. It was the jib, the big piece of steel out there. I was chipping and he yelled at me, "Shut it down, shut it down." He's waving his hands and I'm like, "What's the big deal?" I didn't even see that my boom was broken in half. So I've been running the old chipper and this chipper, I've been running them for about probably 5 years now. Let's see, Arborist 460. Oh, I love when you caught old Josh resting his eyes. I've been there plenty of days when I get a chuckle. I'm sure to hear him tell you he wasn't sleeping, but he was. Hey, I'd come there and go full steam in the dark. He really doesn't have a question. Looks like fun. Cynthia Her, nice video, John. Between you chipper and the slasher, what puts out more wood per day? Well, if you want to talk sheer wood, this chipper put out more wood in a day. He's going to cut, probably today, he will cut a load of logs, which is about 20 cord. We're not doing a whole lot of chipping today. He'll do probably a load of logs with this 20 to 23 cord of logs. And he'll chip probably 2 loads of firewood, and you're running anywhere from probably averaging 15 cord per load. So you'll put out about 30, 50 cord of wood today, say with the slasher. If I do my 5 loads of chips, that'll be 100 cord of wood usually. It's about 20 cord a load is what it averages out. So that's how much I'll do. How do you prepare your equipment for the very cold startups? Winter's coming. Basically, you make sure your fuel filters are clean. And by clean, I mean you're changing them out regularly. You don't want to leave them in there too long. You don't want them things gelling up in the winter. It's no fun when you get out here in the middle of winter and your fuel filters are clogged up and these motors won't start. So that's what we kind of do. Make sure you got some diesel 911 on hand. Basically, you just kind of overlook everything. Make sure everything's ready to go. There's nothing other than fuel filters, air filters. You just want it so every night when you shut the equipment off, that it's running properly. You don't want to have issues at night and then get up in a cold morning when it's minus 30 degrees out and it won't start. So that's kind of what you're dealing with. You just kind of make sure everything's where it should be. Hayden Sheldon, why don't you guys run chains on your skidders? I got this question a couple times. There's no reason for us to run chains on our skidders. If we can go through a winter without running chains on our skidders, we won't. They do up in Canada, they do certain areas because of rocks to protect the tire wear. We don't have a whole lot of rocky ground. What you see on the past videos I've made, it's a little sandy out there, but there's no real need. Nobody in our area runs chains on their skidders year round. The other point is, we moved the last 6, 8 jobs, I'd say. We've been within a 10-mile radius of where we're at right now. If we were to have chains on our skidders, they'd all have to be lowboyed to every job, or take your chains off. There's no reason to have them on there. They can scoot down the road real quick, sneak down the road, and it saves us a bunch of time and a bunch of hassle. Why is my flashlight on? Hold on, there we go. How clean do your fuel consumption, handling, treatment. We pay a little more to have our fuel treatment when we get it, just like Cotton Top 3 does. He talked about that in one video, to have the additives put in it. That's about all we do. I don't put any 911 in this thing. I don't do any of that unless I'm in an emergency, like 911 is the reason kind of for the emergency. I know some people put it in theirs all the time. I don't do that. So we don't have no special system or nothing we do for our fuel. The consumption, we got a 400-gallon tank. That's got to be filled up every day. We don't necessarily go through all 400. We'll go through 300 probably, 300 to 400 pretty easily probably. How clean do your chips have to be? Under a 4% bark content. So all this wood that's going through here has to be under the bark content. The chips got to be under 4% for the paper mill. Okay, Backwoods Racer, I'm just wondering on your Friday video, can you please answer? Do y'all work side by side for the forester in your area? No, we don't. We got a timber buyer. We don't have a forester. We do work for foresters sometimes, and sometimes we don't. It all depends on the situation, the people. That's really fluid on how that works. So, and that can get into a really complicated. A complicated question can go a million different directions with that one. So we have a timber buyer we deal with, and he deals with foresters sometimes. That's how kind of we go. How do you determine which trees need to be cut and which trees need to stay? Adam has been cutting for 10 plus years, I'd say. He's worked here for 15. He started in high school and he still works here now. I don't know how old he is. 35, I think, somewhere in that range. What we'll do is this job, I know that we're cutting the maple all bigger than 6-inch maple. So if it's bigger than 6 inches, he cuts it. Like this tree right here, it's bigger than 6 inches, it goes. All the ash gets cut. All the poplar gets cut. All the birch gets cut. So he basically looks at a contract. It says what to get cut. He gets shown the property lines, and he's let loose. That's how we cut. That's how he cuts it all. That's how it works. There's no marked trees. There simply goes by size on most jobs. On 98% of the jobs. What is this poplar you're always talking about? Harold asks. I don't got any right next to me or around me, otherwise I'd show you. I just chipped one about 10 minutes ago. But there is like none on this job. Sorry, Harold, I can't answer that question. It's just it's a species of wood is all it is. But it's a softer type of wood. It's not like an ash or a maple. It's really soft, not good for firewood. So that's just how a lot of pallet material. So I'm at like 5 minutes. I'll go a little longer, and I'm gonna have to sort these out because these are getting pretty long. We call them a bucket here in northern New Hampshire. Thank you, Steve H. Steve Hatfield. There we go. Somebody else calls it a bucket. I'm not the only loony. I made that last video there. Have a little fun. What kind of chassis are log splitters usually on? Alex Williams Adventure. That's my buddy Alex asked that question. We have a log splitter at the shop, Alex. It's got a 60 horsepower Isuzu motor. Its nickname is Splitzilla. It's got like a 3-foot ram on it. And that has a custom built chassis on it. So everyone's different depending on the size of what you're doing. This is a big splitter we got, and we use it for all them big chunks that we cut off and everything. Our knuckles and horn pile. So everyone's different. I'm not even sure what's on our log splitter. So I hope that helps you out there, Alex, with your question. Lord Muck, I'll tell you what, he's got a good channel. Go look up Lord Muck, M-U-C-K. Kurt over there. He watches my channel, and he's a smart guy. You run across a lot of YouTubers that are really cool and genius and make good videos, but Kurt is really smart. He knows his business. He knows what's going on. How did you start out? Did you ever imagine you'd be running an operation as big as you do? My dad owns a roofing company right here in central Michigan. You need your roof done in central Michigan, you call my dad. Britain Roofing. they get you taken care of. My brother's running it pretty much now. Give them a shout, they'll take care of you. I started off working for my father, but I was always obsessed with equipment. As a tractor, lawnmower, anything, I wanted to run it. And when I married Lacey, I was always a little bit amused with his operation, but it's kind of, you don't see it a lot, so I was kind of afraid of it at first, I'd say. It's kind of your own little world out here. And after roofing, after being married a couple years and being laid off in the winter, I talked to Mike and see if he'd offer me a job. And he had a job running an old 480 Timberjack. And I started running that, and I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed running the 480, and I just enjoy running equipment. So I started running that gutless skidder, and things just kind of went from there. He needed a chipper operator. I started running chipper. I filled in running slasher, and then I just really wanted to help him out. Mike's run this company for a long time, 30 plus years, and he deserves a break. And he worked out here in the woods for a long time, and so I knew if I stepped up a little bit and tried to help him out and make a big difference on him. He needs to take a break, get away. He's got a daughter in Missouri he needs to go see all the time. So I just tried to help him out as much as I can, and I just started doing more and more and more. And did I ever dream I'd be doing this? Not in a million years. I never knew what I was going to do. Being out here running this chipper, I never dreamed this would ever happen. So it's been absolutely wonderful. Bobby Horn, how many axles are you guys allowed to run your trucks and trailers, and how much weight can you carry? The log truck just left, and I wish I would have counted them. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's got 10 axles underneath that log truck. We're allowed to haul 164,000 pounds in the state of Michigan. And that log truck's set up to do it. Look at that crooked old cherry tree. Crooked thing. So we're allowed 164,000. What's the biggest tree you'd be able to fit in that chipper? I got a 30-inch disc in this thing. I can fit a 30-inch tree. It's a 2755. That means I'm allowed to take a 27-inch tree. The opening's actually 27 inches. You can get one a little bigger in there if you're absolutely lucky. But once you get to that 27-inch, 28-inch range, you're stretching it, and that's about all she'll take. So you're talking a big tree. And I have never put a tree in here and have this chipper kick it back out due to the V12 revving down. All these chippers you see, they'll stop because the motor gets at a low rev. I've put 27-inch trees, 28-inch trees through this thing. It does not stop. It gobbles it up. I've actually broke the end of the spout off before. I broke the tabs off because when you've got a tree that big going through this thing, it's all going through that little spout. And it actually broke the tabs off from my deflect because it was pushing so much wood through it. It'll take a big tree.